Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the CyberGizmo, we're going to be looking at Fedora Workstation 32 right after this. Today is the last day for the official beta, so today should end the beta period. It is the last possible day that they can do beta testing, and according to their website, the beta release is still the only thing that's available. So yeah, I'm breaking my rules a little bit here. I normally wait, but I know it's imminent to, and I don't know if it'll release today. Release schedules are always dependent upon what bugs they find and whether or not they feel like they can release this. So yeah, so anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about it. So as you know, Fedora is released on a 6-month cycle, but they do support the back releases for up to 13 months. And that gives you a chance, if you want to, you can skip a release if you're not really interested in it. As that says, release schedules are never a certainty. But they do maintain a release schedule on their site. And so far, it hasn't changed. Today is still showing as the last possible date for the beta. The workstation requirements they have not updated yet on their site. So these are the ones for Fedora 31. From my personal experience in playing around with the 32 beta is, yeah, 2 gig is probably going to be more likely because you are well over the 1 gig mark after installing the GNOME version of the workstation. If you have less memory than that, you may want to consider one of the spin projects. But yeah, the recommended, of course, is 4 gig and 20 gig of unallocated disk space. Now, even 4 gig today in most operating systems is enough to get you started. But if you're doing serious development work and with Docker and some of those kinds of things, you're probably going to find you're going to run out real fast. So anyway, just be aware of that. So what changed? Fedora 32, as you know, is a rolling release, and it forms the basis of changes to both Red Hat and CentOS. It is based now on the 5.6 Linux kernel, and so that is bringing in some additional capabilities, which we'll talk about in depth. So, and of course, it uses the latest GNOME 3.36.1, I believe, after the update. One of the big changes with this release is they are updating to support the systemd sysusers.d format, which I think is really more for privileged users, and it allows some standardization for how groups and user IDs and so forth are communicated from one application to another. Now that affects, I know, privileged IDs. I don't know what the long-term the plans are for this, but of course it doesn't affect your password file or your group file or your shadow file. But it's just a mechanism to standardize on how to communicate information to other applications, and I think even across the network to some degree. The bin utilities has been updated to 2.33. This version of the kernel is bringing in early OOM, or early out of memory detection, and also it does correct, and we'll talk more about that later. Yeah, it takes corrective action, and we'll test that. So it also enables FS trim by default, and that executes, I think, on a weekly basis. And of course, you can change that yourself. But that is supposed to provide some wear leveling on SSD devices, and it includes NVMe as well. And there's additional language packs that are installed in this. There's a free Pascal compiler. Yay, the GCC and G++ have now gone to version 10. Also, the GNC libraries are updated to 2.31. LVM is 10, Python 3.8, and of course, Python 2 is retired. They also are restarting services at the end of an RPM transaction that are affected by that particular RPM. So that's kind of nice, I guess. I mean, and for a workstation environment, that's fine. For a server environment, I might be a little bit concerned about that. But again, Fedora server isn't too common. Ruby 2.7, systemd presets for user units, and of course that goes back to the the systemd, the system user.d configurations. Firewall D now defaults to NF tables. And the IP tables command still works, but it uses the IP tables NFT defaults mechanism in order to report the results. Golang, which says Golang is 1.14 to Django 3. Haskell is on the LTS 14 release. Jekyll is 4. MariaDB 10.4 and Mono 6.4, if those are of interest to you. PostgreSQL is 12. Version 12. Bazaar, the version control system, has been replaced by Breeze, which is a fork of Bazaar. PHP 7.4 is now, and there's a whole host of new things that are in Fedora 32 besides these. But OOM, how does it work? So what happens when your machine runs out of memory and swap space if you've declared a swap file is the out-of-memory OOM killer is called to free some memory resources. So in other words, if it finds a process that is consuming what it considers an inordinate amount of memory, it will make it mark it as a candidate to kill. And it will then send a SIGTERM interrupt to that application. Yeah, you could probably get around it, but it's going to continually fire SIGTERMs at your application indefinitely. But anyway, the way it works is that each process that's running in your system is given a score, and that score is calculated by 10 times the amount of the, I guess you could say the percentage that your process is using. When you reach 1,000, that would be 10 times 100% of memory. If your processes reach 1,000, then the killer is called, and it will fire a SIGTERM at your PID and terminate you. So how do you find out what your current score is? Well, that's tracked in the /proc/PID of your process directory, and then under there you will find a file called OOM_score. And that will contain a value from -1,000 to +1,000. If you reach a +1,000, you're gone. Yes, you're gone. So you can kind of get an idea on how your applications are tracking through the system. And if you want, I can put a script up on my GitHub page, and you can monitor it a little bit yourself. So can you prevent OEM from killing a process? Yes, you can, to some degree. There is a score adjustment that's changed. You can change the values there from -1,000 to +1,000. If you put a -1,000 in that for your process, then your process will continue to run even though it's consuming all the memory in the box and in your swap file too. If you set this to +1,000, the OOM killer will come around and kill your process every second that it flushes out of memory. I don't know how often it actually cycles, but it seems to be pretty quick. And of course, you need to be root in order to be able to change that file. There's also another one called OOM adjust. Oh, one other thing I need to tell you, if your process is running as privileged, it does scale back the calculation a bit. So it gives you a little bit more headroom. How much it gives you, I don't know. I haven't experimented enough with it to be able to tell how much of adjustment it actually makes. But there is also another one called OOM_ADJ, and that has values from -16 to 15. It has a magic value of -17. If you encode that file under that process ID with a -17, OOM will not do anything to your application at all. It will allow it to continue to run and consume all your memory. So, but you know, if you've got that kind of problem where you're running out of memory and you're consuming all your swap, you've got bigger problems than just an out-of-control process. Your machine is overloaded, obviously, and either that means that you need to add memory to the machine, or you need to go and figure out what is going on with the process and try to reduce its memory footprint. It could also be an indication that you have a memory leak in one of your applications if it's continually being singled out and shot and blown out of memory. And we'll play around with that a little bit today, and I'll kind of show you kind of how that works. So I guess as always, let me go to kind of a full screen here. as usual. I do have this installed on hardware, but for today, because I want to test the OOM, I don't, the other has 64 gig of memory. We would be here a while waiting for that to run out of memory. So I'm going to just do this. I've already installed this, and I'm just going to jump over there. I've already done the updates. There is the only thing that's really new in the install is that it has a new menu. You can use the old parted menu for manually configuring your partitions on your disk, and there's also a new one that you can use as well if you choose to do that. So I didn't think it would really be all that useful. I will do one on hardware install. I don't think it'd be useful to show this in this particular case. So I've already set this up. The default background, for those of you that want to know these things, I don't know if I can find it anymore. That's none of those. Yeah, maybe I'll show you when we actually do that. So I've already gone ahead and done this. So let me bring up a terminal window as always, and we'll go look at a few things. So first thing I want to look at is, yeah, it's a 5.6.7 kernel. This is after the updates, and we'll look at our usual thing. This is Fedora Workstation Edition. This is the beta, the latest beta with the updates as of this morning at the time I'm doing this video on the 28th of April. And so, yeah, let's look at, I've already installed NeoFetch. It wasn't installed. And 1,705 RPMs and 2 Flatpaks. The App Store, in reverse of, well, I can show you. Let's just go look at that. Sorry about that. I always do that. Let's pick this one right here. And it should, maybe this is not one of them. It should show me. It should show me. Well, it should show me that this is a Flatpak. If it's installing, there's a couple of repos, and this one doesn't give you any choice, but there are a couple of repos. The default is Flatpak, and then you would select the repo that you wanted. Maybe it's right here. There it is. So yeah, you can enable or disable them as you wish, if you want the Flatpaks or not. So yeah, but anyway, that's just something that you need to be aware of. Let's see if it changed that to the third flat. Nope, it was an actual RPM. So okay, so the other thing I want to find out about is memory. Memory use is a little heavy. 1.09 gig of memory according to HTOP. That's with 122 tasks running, 281 threads. Processor utilization, yeah, it's doing some stuff. Let's look at glances. 1.36 gig of memory. This is not a big change from Fedora 31. Well, because Fedora 31 is already updated to 3.36. Yeah, it's not a big change. So I guess the thing that we really want to do here is, let me leave this running. This won't show, but let's take a look at the out of memory stuff first. So let's see what I've got running here. So I have a bash. Let's go look at that one. Of course, it's not going to be much meaningful information. 2651. So as you can see, the OOM scores are now in here, and that one currently has a 0. So it's not consuming enough memory to worry about. I did write a little script that will show the current scores for everything that's running. And GNOME Shell is at 62, and the package kit D is at 26 and 16. So, yeah, this guy is definitely a heavy memory utilizer. So let's do something here. Let's run top with a duration of, I don't know, maybe 1. And we'll just let it update. And then what I'm going to do, I don't have my, I guess I should get my OOM so it loops, but maybe I'll do that in a future version of that. But let me, I have this little program that I wrote that all it does is just keeps allocating pointers. So it'll just fly through there and allocate pointers until it gets killed. So we'll attempt to do this. And watch this right here. Watch these two values, both for the swap and for the free, as this runs, because it will go down really fast. There goes. And then the other one will get consumed. And it's been killed. So I reached a limit of 1,000, and then it flushed me, and you'll notice that Linux immediately reclaimed all of that memory. It hasn't even gotten back to the buffer cache yet. So that is how well it works. And I could probably, let's see. Will it run long enough for me to actually get this out? So you can see that memleak here is 99, and it's going up. There's 477. I might get one more out of it before it dies. Well, no, it's going to kill it because yeah, nothing's moving. It's out of memory. Yep, it's dead. So yeah, it killed it. And that is how it works. Now you can look in the journal. Let's do, it better be sudo, huh? Let's look at the end. And you'll see right there that it fired the sig term at memleak right there, and once it hit the value that it was looking for. So yeah, it blew it out of memory. So you can see that in your logs, and it shows up. Let me just it shows up right here as early OOM. So if you're kind of wondering what's going on with your system, if you have processes that keep getting dumped out of memory, that's why. That's what's going on. I guess I should move this out of the way, huh? So you can see that. So let me redo that. We've had a few other things that have gone on since then, but yeah. So there's where the sig term was fired. And when it detected that it was using too much memory. Now I could go in and play with this, and I could have this run until, you know, but I wouldn't be able to get back into the console window. Probably I would have to just shut it down in order to kill the process. But yeah, so that's what that's all about, is to try to give your system a little bit more control, give you a little bit more control over your system if you have programs that or applications that are just going to run you out of memory. So what are some of the other features of this besides that one? Let's go ahead and get out of that. Oops. I think I'm done with this for now. So just like on Ubuntu, I mean, I can add all those to it. And then I can come in here and edit that to whatever I want. There we go. And so you have that ability to do that as well. Now I've got some additions here that I have put on the system for my edification, but this has been updated. I don't think I want to bring that up. Well, I could, I suppose. KVM will run KVM VMs inside of VMs, but this now has a help that's provided with it, and also allegedly this now works. Yep. So it now has a help, and it also supports UEFI boots as well. So that's nice that they've added that feature to boxes if you're so inclined to use that. I don't think I have Copilot installed. Let's see what I need. I'm not even sure what I need. Might already be installed. Might be. Yeah, I'll probably do that on the when I work on the system for the hardware. But let's see. What else can I tell you? That's very, I mean, obviously it has the same capabilities as what Ubuntu have, with one exception. You cannot put, yeah, you can't, I can't move icons out here. Yeah, I can't show those on the desktop. Well, maybe I can. Let's see. New folder. Let's see if it'll actually show it. I bet it won't. Nope. So they have not implemented the change that Ubuntu did. That obviously is custom code that Ubuntu added in there. Or I could maybe install an extension to get that. But that's something I have not played around with to see. As far as my usual things that I do, let's go out to opt. I've already installed Linus. Okay. And we'll run this real quick. Let's see what score we get. So remember, this is not has not been hardened at all. Haven't done anything to harden it. One of these days, what I should do is do a full video on hardening a system. I have it as automated as I can, and then I do some others. By the way, there is a in the respins, there is something called the labs versions of Fedora, and one of those is a security version, which has all of the tools that you would need if you were doing security assessments or pen testing. So yeah, so we got score 66. This looks pretty common, and looks like they're picking up some of the stuff from Debian. Debian definitely having some effect on all these new releases. I'm sure that that's coming probably from them. Yes, Fedora does use some Debian repositories. Reboot of the system is most likely needed because it's seeing a new kernel. And it needs a system, and it also needs my name servers, which I don't have. One of the interesting things, speaking of that, that is a lot different than Ubuntu, is they have now added Open Connect. Now, and also compatible with SSH servers. So now they allow creation of a VPN that is compatible with SSH agent, which is kind of interesting. In addition to the regular ones. So, and then Open Connect, which of course is these guys. Pulse, Palo Alto, Juniper, and Cisco. Run away. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? I was just kidding. And of course you have OpenVPN. Now supposedly WireGuard is now inside the kernel, is inside the 5.6 kernel. So I did not see a package to install for it. So again, probably need to do some further investigation with this. Once the documents become available on the Fedora site, I will definitely go do some of that. But they're not currently posted because it's still in beta as far as they're concerned. Let's see. I think this is version 75. Yep, version 75, which I think, let's just see if that is the, yeah, obviously I have it, but I just want to download it anyway to see what it is. 75, that's the most current. I know I could have probably done that a lot easier, but LibreOffice, let's see what the latest version from them is. .643, okay. Let's see, let's go to Impress. And we'll do an about. Now let me cancel all this stuff first. Six four 643. So yeah, pretty new stuff. Yeah, I'll look at that later. But anyway, that I just wanted to show you the OOM today, and then I'll do a hardware install once they have the official release done. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to accomplish today. So my thoughts are that it's a pretty typical Fedora release. I mean, it just like Ubuntu was, and even though I'm running this under a VM, it is pretty responsive. I mean, the application animations, if I hit the button, are pretty snappy. They're pretty quick. And this is running Xorg. I switched this. The default on Fedora is Wayland, and where you can see that, I'll just log out and show you. It's right there. So I can run GNOME Classic, or I can run GNOME on Wayland or Xorg. I'm just not a big fan of Wayland. It's goofy. It causes problems. But yeah, so later on today, hopefully once the new release comes out, I'll post the install on hardware for you guys. And again, that's about all I had for today. Just a real short little video to talk more about OOM and how that actually works. So hope to see y'all again real soon, and bye for now.